Hi, my name is Brianna Rosenthal. I am from Clovis, California, and this is my story. I was raised in a Christian home. My dad was a pastor, so very much born into it. All my siblings and I were raised Christian. VeggieTales was our bread and butter, as homeschooled Christian as it gets. My relationship with Christ started off very VeggieTales. It was just like the surface level golden rule type stuff. My dad got sick with cancer, and it was about a 6-year journey with that. And we were given prophecy after prophecy of healing. So a lot of my faith in that span of time was all focused on the hands of God and what he could do for us and how his promises translated into our lives. He ended up passing away. And after that, I think my faith turned a lot into Christian Band-Aids. Like, I know how this is supposed to look. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Just smile through it and masking kind of a lot of the mistrust and hurt and anger and need to control and just kind of throwing a facade over all of it. So in that span of life, honestly, from 9 to 18, it was very much just, I'm doing what I know I'm supposed to. After high school, I got to do a YWAM program in Switzerland. And I think that was probably like the main turning point in my faith, because I thought I was just going to like learn more about the Bible. I was like, my relationship with God is perfect. Like, no need to modify. We're great there. And I just could not have been more wrong. I was confronted a lot with all this distrust and anger and resentment that I had built up over so many years. And so I think that that's kind of the turning point in my faith, where God really met me in a super sweet way and exposed that and showed me his faithfulness throughout those years that I was really blinded to it. So, and now it's just a process of growing and learning to abide, as Bill Doctrine would say, walking in his presence and learning to be loved without doing anything. So I think overall throughout my life, God's faithfulness has been a huge facet of his character that I've gotten to see a lot, and it's healed a lot of that hurt and distrust and that kind of built up. And one really, really big moment in my life where I felt like God initially exposed my distrust and then met me with his overwhelming love was at YWAM in Switzerland during this program. I was upstairs and I had just been kind of realizing slowly how angry of a person I had become, and processing with the Lord, like, how did this happen? Like, how did I get here? And he reminded me of this memory I have as a kid where I don't know what happened. Something was going wrong, and we had to call the ambulance for my dad. And I remember as a kid opening the door and just watching them turn the corner into his room. And I remember, it sounds so selfish now, but just really wanting to be seen by the EMT workers or someone, just to like be noticed by someone. And so in Switzerland, God was reminding me of this, and I saw them kind of go down the hallway into his room. And as they passed, like, Jesus was just standing there in the hallway, like looking at me and seeing me. And in the moment, I just broke down, because the idea of, even in our hardest moments or the moments when life is just really intense, he's there whether we see him or not, and he's looking at us and with us and feeling it with us. And so it was a beautiful process of going back to other memories of like, oh, this was really hard. God, where were you in this? And seeing him meet me in those moments and be so faithful. I think after that moment with the Lord, I have just been so, I guess, eager to see where he is all around me. And that's kind of the main shifting point in my relationship with the Lord, was being so heavily confronted with his faithfulness. So while I was at YWAM, we did 3 months in Switzerland and then 2 months in Togo, West Africa. And one day, one of our ministries was to go to a local elementary school and just pray over the campus and the classroom, students and teachers. Our tour guide was explaining to us that corporal punishment is really heavily used in that school in particular, but also in general. So we were going around, we were praying, and my heart just really broke for these students who were experiencing that treatment. and even more for the teachers who were doing that just because that's what they knew, that's what was done to them. And I had one of those cliche, like, where are you, God moments? And it was really sweet the way he met me in it. And I just felt like the heartbreak that I was feeling, the sadness and the hopelessness I was feeling was just a glimpse of his heart for it. And I felt him invite me into being part of the work that he's doing in global education, which is honestly what led me here to Vanguard, because I know we have an incredible geo department. Shout out. They are fantastic. I actually Google searched cheapest Christian universities in California, and Vanguard came up, and then upon further investigation, Geo popped up, which is great. And I figured wanting to teach abroad, having connections with a school that is so active in missions will be essential. And it was, and I met this organization called ELIC through Vanguard Geo, and I got to go on a trip with them at the beginning of the summer to China. And it was incredible to see what the lifestyle, the day in, day out of a missionary teacher looks like. Kind of getting a more realistic view of what the operations are, so that as someone who wants to go into that, I get to kind of realistically set my expectations. So yeah, that's Vanguard. And after Vanguard, I applied to work with this same organization. And over the summer, I was accepted. So next September, end of September, I will be moving to Thailand to teach English at a university there. So I'm very, very excited. Okay, so if I could leave you with one thing from the testimony of what God's done in my life and my story thus far, it's just that even though we might not ever understand why God does certain things, or we might not get the answers that we're looking for, and we might not see him show up in the way that we expect, he is so faithful and so good, and he really does have a plan for us for his glory and our good. So if it takes us surrendering what we think something should look like in order to see his greater picture at work, his greater plan, it's always worth it. And it's okay to bring it to him, your frustration, your mess, your anger, and just let him meet you with his overwhelming love, because he wants that relationship with us. So if I could leave you with anything, God is faithful, God loves us, and we can trust him. So the Geo Week is super, super cool because it's got all the tables and all the information, and it kind of shows you the different options of where you could go. What drew me to China, I don't necessarily have a burning passion for China, but it was through the education department. So some Geo trips will be through different school departments where you can get credit, and really, really cool partnership. This one in particular was with ELIC, this organization, our first time working with them as Vanguard. And I applied and wasn't accepted initially. I didn't realize there was a step 2, and I just dropped the ball. But I got a call from Drew, and he said, hey, our China trip filled up. I want to hear your heart for a Geo trip, so maybe I can match you with another one that is conducive. And so I explained what I shared about Togo and hearing God call me into teaching abroad and all of that. And I don't know how he did it to this day, but he said, okay, tomorrow or next week or something, we're going to have a meeting. Mark your calendar, save the day. I'll text you the night before if I can find you a spot. And sure enough, he found me a spot. And so it's kind of really cool to see how God opened that door, even though I was being super oblivious to the whole process. And that's what got me into the China trip. And from start to finish, I think that the Geo department here at Vanguard is so intentional to preparing, team building, and training, that going overseas, even to China, wasn't as intimidating as I thought it would be. And they just have a really great support system. So if you're considering doing a Geo trip, I highly recommend it. It's such an amazing experience. And it's 10 days. So, well, I guess they fluctuate. But for the most part, 10 days is totally doable. And it's amazing and so humbling to see how God uses you in his kingdom.